the attitude, some of the criteria when we're putting a marketing piece together about who we're targeting, and we've drilled down on the things that matter most to them. And so what I would tell you, all of your marketing should talk to people about the things they use the most in the order they use those things, because that's what people are concerned about. We looked at what the attitudes are. So if those things are true, if those survey results are actually true, then I'm going to ask the question that each one of you on the call today is probably asking yourself. In fact, one person said it about long-term care. Why don't they buy? I mean, if Lerman did this great study and they're really great at it, and these numbers are true, you would think everybody, like your phone should be ringing off the hook of people wanting to buy it from you. But I mean, the reason you're here today is because you know that that's not true. That doesn't happen. So why don't they buy? Well, the most common reason for not buying is 63% of people think it's too expensive. They think life insurance is too expensive. Remember, this survey is specifically about life insurance. They think it's too expensive. 61% say I have other financial priorities. And 52% say I have as much as I need, which is kind of an interesting number, because if they've had a life insurance policy for 10 years or longer, that is probably a true perception on the day they bought the life insurance, because they bought what they thought they needed. And because they're still emotionally connected to that purchase, they haven't caught up with all of the changes in their life, and they don't recognize the additional need they have today. So that is kind of an emotional barrier that we have to break through with them. Since 63% of people said, or their perception is life insurance is too expensive, I thought it would be good to look at what the estimated cost of coverage is. Again, this is from Lerman. This is Lerman surveyed consumers, and this is consumers' perception between $100 and $1,000 a month. This is consumers' perception. And then I want to point out something to you. As we look at this, I'm going to go back for a second. So right here, my favorite messaging, I wish my spouse or partner would purchase more life insurance, right? That's my favorite one. And that's millennium. So on here, 44% of millennials actually think that life insurance is $1,000 a month or more. Isn't that kind of ironic? Or I think it's kind of ironic. So they think that their spouse should get it. They wish their spouse would get it, but they are under the false belief that life insurance is going to cost them that kind of money. So again, as we've kind of targeted our audience now, we know what messaging that they will respond to. And so now we're starting to learn what blocks we have to get through. Because consumers overestimate the cost of all of coverage, life insurance, long-term care, health insurance, everything, by almost 4 times the actual cost. So when we look at the breadwinner, when that breadwinner dies, how long is it going to take that family before they are financially impacted by the loss of that income from that primary breadwinner? And again, if we go back and look at the numbers, it's kind of shocking to me that between 1 week and 1 month equals 35% of the people. That means 35% of the people you talk to on a daily basis, if the primary breadwinner passed away, would run out of money. So I'm not sure, but I think that's probably a conversation that we should have, right? And I think that we have to learn to have the courage to ask questions. And the hard question might be, in your mind, when your spouse passes away, between 2 weeks, 30 days, and 6 months, how soon do you feel like you will start running out of money? I mean, I think that might be a deep question to ask. So we can look at these numbers here. One number that I think is really interesting in here, besides the 15 and 20%, is the don't know number. Because if I don't know, and I add it in, somebody's asking me to move my face. I can do that. I'm trying to move my face. It won't move it. Sorry about that. I said, there you go. Thank you, Jazz. Appreciate that. So if I take the 15%, the 20%, add the 16% in there, don't know, what percent are we in? We're at 50%. And since you can't lose anything you don't have, what does this tell us about the conversations that we should be having with our prospects? One of the primary conversations you should be having with every prospect, you're welcome. Thank Jazz for doing that. That conversation should be, and I like to give time frames. Like, here's a trick that car sales people do. Car sales people say, when you think about how much money you want to set aside for your car payment, between 0 and 100, 100 and 300, or more than $300 a month, where do you fall? Right? Now here's the trick. You ready? Here's the trick. If you say, well, between somewhere around $300, they'll say, and not more than. And when they say not more than, you'll say, well, not more than 400. And they just raised your window $100. That's like an old salesman's trick. And that's where you tack on your ancillary products in there. So when you say to someone, when you think about the first month, the first 3 months, or up to the first 6 months after your spouse passes away, how long will it take before you start running out of money? Or are you going to have to start depending on your savings account or others for living expenses? I mean, we should be asking questions that cause people to think. We should not be asking closed-in questions. We should be asking questions that make them think, that are thoughtful questions, that cause them to have a little bit of discomfort and makes them actually feel like that what we're bringing to the table is something different than every other product hawking, price hawking salesperson they've talked to. So we started off in this section, why don't they buy? We looked at that. So why? Why haven't they bought from you? Well, no one's approached them. Again, I go back to millennials, the ones that nobody, I mean, most of the time when I talk to agents and advisors, they always feel like that millennials aren't interested. But yet, if you look at just the surveys we've gone through here, the strongest responses we've gotten are from millennials. And so 43% of millennials say that 1 in 4 haven't been approached about life insurance. And that should be shocking. Even if you take the Gen X, I mean, if you get tag on the Gen X with the millennials, look at the percentage. So next time you put together a marketing plan, think about the audience that you want to reach. Think about what they've already told you that are their concerns. Understand what you want them to feel, what you want them to do, and do you make it easy for them to do that? And then look at how you can segment your marketing so that when you do your marketing, the responses you get will drop your prospects into the different funnels based on things like, for example, millennials, Gen X's, and boomers. Like, I can put copy in an email marketing piece and have a click here. And when they click that, I can drop them into different buckets. And then that tells me what additional stuff I might market back to them as we build a relationship. So I think it's interesting that a lot of times we feel like millennials aren't really interested. Most of the time they are. I like what Richard said. So many insurance commercials on TV that don't millennials. Yeah, absolutely. And we got somebody on Facebook said, yes, today's news is talking about the cost of raising a baby until age 18, $230,000. Well, think of the baby boomer generation. That's 1946 to 1964. That's the most studied market in history. They all came back from World War II. They got married. They bought their first house. They had their babies. They bought baby carriages, baby beds. They bought baby food. They bought tricycles, bicycles. They put their kids in this elementary school, junior high, high school, and college, all at the same time, all within that 18-year period. Now, let me ask you this. Those parents who went through the life cycle of experience together, what are they doing in retirement? Starting in January of 2011, baby boomers started turning 65. More than 10,000 a day turned 65. And over the next 18 years, past 2030, they're all going to go through their senior years, the same life experiences together. And we know everything about them. There's nothing that we don't know about any market. In fact, if you take a piece of paper now, this is an assignment for you. Take a piece of paper right now, and on that piece of paper, I went down 63 to 65. Like, write that down at the top of your paper, 63 to 65. And you're not going to do all this on this call here because we won't have time. But maybe you come back for the next one and bring that with you. What are their dominant buying motives? What life cycle issues are they going to go through from that age forward? So you take that male that's turning 65. How old could his oldest kids be? 40 to 45-year-old, right? What's a 40 to 45-year-old's dominant buying motive? From that age until they turn 65. Now, take that group, that 40 to 45-year-olds, what's their oldest kid's age? 20 to 25 years old. So we know within each market exactly what they're going to go through. We know, for example, they're going to get married, they're going to have a kid, they're going to buy a house, they're going to get their first job, they're going to have a second kid, they're probably going to move for a job. We know that when they're 40, 45 years old, they're going to have kids in high school, they're going to have to pay for college, they're planning for their retirement, maybe they're in an echo career, they're in their second or third career. We already know all these things about these people. The messaging should be really simple. It should resonate, it should be repeatable, relatable, and referable. But yet, the marketing that goes out always seems to be about the product, the carrier, the price, or the firm. And I'm going to tell you something, they're not interested in any of that. Everybody in this survey said that before they would buy life insurance, they would go to the agent's social media presence. So does your LinkedIn profile, does your Facebook profile, does your Instagram profile, are your posts about your prospect or about you? When they read your LinkedIn profile, do they get a sense of what they would get from working with you, or do they get informed of what you do? And again, the red theme of today is millennials. 57% of millennials are going to go check your social media profile. That's not me saying that. That's them saying that to you. So if you don't think LinkedIn is important, if you don't think your Facebook or your website is important, then you have to ask yourself, are you expanding your messaging to your potential market, or are you narrowing it? Are you causing people to want to learn more about you? Or are you causing them to want to leave your social media post and your presence quicker? Because reliance on social media extends to life insurance, even among baby boomers. Again, if I take Gen X and baby boomers, I've got more than 50%. I've got 60% of the people, right? Well, 70%. That's huge. So that's why I think that survey that we talked about at the very beginning here that Melissa does yesterday on the Power was really interesting to me. Because in my opinion, that doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just telling you my opinion. Marketing and process, in my view, should fall under your messaging. Like you should get your marketing plan together. We talked about that already. But if you don't spend as much time on your messaging as you do everything else, then the marketing is just not going to get you the results that you need to have. And it's not me saying it. It's your target market is telling you that in these surveys.